predators and doppelgangers and ghosts. Oh my! InBetweeners, you're literally the best community on YouTube, and you guys share some pretty amazing comments and emails with us about some of the crazy encounters and experiences you've had out there in the world. So today we're sharing some of your stories so you can all relax knowing you're not alone. Welcome to the InBetween. I'm Carol Ann, and today we are highlighting some of the wild adventures told to us by you, our very own InBetweeners. And if you're thinking, hey, I got a story for you, Carol Ann, then by all means, email it to me at inbetweentales@gmail.com. And your story may be featured in the next Viewer Stories episode. Seriously, we're always looking for good stories. No idea how to even categorize this encounter that comes to us from our good friend Edward. The events in the story actually happened to his Uncle Mike way back when the territory of New Mexico was not even a state in the Union yet, before World War II started for the U.S. Santa Fe was the capital of the territory, but not a real hustling and bustling place to live. So the kids would roam for a change of scenery to the Santa Fe mountains. Some would walk, some would ride horses, and some would be lucky enough to be able to use the family car. Uncle Mike is about 18 or 20 years old at the time when he and his wife-to-be, along with 3 other couples, decide to take a trip along the dark mountain roads of the mountains. They're out in the middle of nowhere with no light except for the car headlights and whatever light the moon happened to be giving off. And nothing but dirt roads winding through the pinyon trees and sage and wild grass. Now, everyone in that car was well aware of the legend of La Llorona, or the Crying Lady. She's been a part of the Southwest's Hispanic lore for forever. The tall, thin, beautiful spirit with long, flowing black hair wears a white gown and roams the rivers and the creeks, wailing over the loss of her children, which she herself drowned by tossing them into the river. So it's almost certain that all of the young adults in that car are thinking of and watching for the Crying Lady when they see something running out of the darkness straight toward their car. But it's not La Llorona. All of a sudden, 5 small men, for lack of a better term, come out of nowhere and jump on the car. Now, like Mike said, the light wasn't very good, but from what they see, these beings are faceless with clothes that are bulky and large on their little frames. Now, most cars and trucks of the time have running boards on the sides where a person can stand or sit, plus steel bumpers coming out of the front and the back of the car. One of the creatures jumps on the front bumper and one on the back, while the other 3 jump on the running boards. As they jump on the car, it's like they add 50 times their weight, and the car starts slowing down to a crawl no matter how hard Mike stomps on the gas. The engine is screaming at full power, but the car is barely moving. And while Mike may have been a little light on details when he told the story to Edward, I think it's fair to say that all the girls are probably screaming. I bet the guys are too. Mike doesn't say how long this encounter lasts, but just as quick as they appear, all the little whatever they are jump off all at once and disappear into the night, making no noise and never saying a word. They just disappear. And as they disappear, so does all that force or weight that's slowing down the car. So Mike, who has the gas pedal to the floor, quickly lets off the gas as the car lurches forward, finally free of that force keeping them at bay. Everybody is pretty freaked out, to say the least, but they all get back home with no further incident. Is this a paranormal incident or the act of a few men playing a trick on some kids out on a joyride in the mountains? But how weird is it that these 5 pint-sized beings had enough weight to slow down a car to a crawl? that they were faceless and wore clothes either not made for them or made style choices heretofore unknown on this planet. To this day, no one knows who or what they were. This horror movie scene comes to us from Jay. His encounter happened just a few weeks ago at the beginning of December in 2023. Jay is living a nice, quiet life in Northern Ontario and assumes this is the way it's going to stay. But Jay is wrong. It's the second week of deer season and Jay is up, coffeed, and ready to go. He cocks his crossbow and heads to the run. It's 5 a.m. Sky's clear and the air brisk. He had a trail cam set up that had shown him all the bucks that would visit along with the raccoons and mink and other critters. It's gonna be a good day, he thinks, as he heads toward the blind that he already has set up in that spot. Sitting in the dark blind, Jay feels a bit uneasy, which is odd since he's been here every day this week and everything had felt fine. But here it was. Every sound thrills him. He hears leaves rustling in the slight breeze as he just settles in, his gaze fixed on the 7x5 blind window in front of him. After checking his equipment, Jay suddenly becomes aware of the deafening silence around him. No wind. Even the sound from the deer mouse that lives under his blind is eerily absent. The birds had ceased their tattletale screeches, warning that a hunter's in the area. Absolute silence. Then it happened. A sound that both puzzled him and terrified him all at once danced on the air. Jay leans forward toward the blind window, trying to understand and identify this new sound. But this is something that he's never heard before, except that it's oddly still familiar. Jay's brain scrambles, trying to figure out why this sound is so familiar, even though he knows he has never heard it in the forest before, when the answer pops right into his head. And when it does, Jay thinks, no way. Yet, here it is. And just what is that sound, you ask? The sound of the creature from the Predator movie. That's the only sound he can equate it to. Clicks that rise and fall in clusters with that odd cadence. And he's thinking what you're thinking. No way! His mind starts running over the catalog in his head of the forest sounds he knows and has heard before. Raccoons and woodpeckers and every small creature he can think of. But nothing in nature sounds at all like this. As the sun begins to rise, the disturbing silence continues. Nothing is moving. The trail cams had shown the times almost like clockwork when the deer made their rounds. So Jay waits and waits. But they don't show. Nothing shows. 5 hours pass and not even a bird appears at the feed pile. The only sound he hears? Sporadic clusters of clicking. Then, out of the blue, Jay hears a crack and looks straight ahead at his 12 o'clock where he sees a 2-inch tree suddenly bend and then break about 3 feet off the ground. Nothing around it. It just bends and breaks. He saw no shimmer, no being, and no reason for the tree to bend. Jay thinks for a moment, packs up, and heads back to camp. Funny thing is, no one in his hunting group saw another deer in the area the entire rest of the week. Not on the trail cams, not even tracks, in an area that was full of deer before this happened. Jay doesn't know of anything in nature that sounds like what he heard. He sat and watched that tree bend. He watched it break, and whatever it was that pushed it over and broke it was, at least to Jay's eyes, completely invisible. Well, Jay says that's what happened, and he doesn't have an answer for it. There is no sighting, no easy explanation. So, does anyone else have any ideas of what Jay saw? or didn't see? This tale comes to us from our good friend Deb. Back around 2014, Deb checked herself into the Swedish hospital in Seattle, Washington for major back surgery. It's a huge hospital that covers several city blocks, and Deb's ICU unit was in the oldest building. So old that parts of it were shut down and locked up since it is so outdated. Her daughter Katie goes with her and helps her settle into her assigned suite in the ICU. Now, that particular ICU unit was built as an octagon with a large nurses' station in the center. And every room and hallway has several cameras monitoring everything that happens anywhere in the unit. The surgery goes just fine. And the day after, Deb and Katie are still exhausted, not only from the surgery, but just from the travel to get there. So Deb tells Katie she's going to take a nap, and Katie decides to do the same. Deb closes her eyes to try to get some rest. And about half an hour later, she hears little feet come into her room. Deb opens her eyes only to see a little blonde boy, roughly 4 to 5 years old, with freckles and his 2 front teeth missing. She reaches out her hand towards him and asks, "Are you lost? Do you need any help?" The little boy's face turns mean, and then he bites her. Alrighty then. Deb dozes off shortly afterward. Hours later, she wakes up, and as the nurse comes into the room to take her vitals, she tells Katie about this dream that she had where this little boy came into the room and bit her. When Deb finishes telling Katie the dream, Katie's eyes get huge. "Mom, if it was a dream, then why do you have a bite mark on your arm?" Needless to say, Deb's a little freaked. But there it is, a tiny bite mark with 2 missing teeth. The nurse and Katie check the bed thoroughly just to make sure that there isn't anything that can make that distinct mark. But no, there's nothing. Her nurse is even more freaked out and says, "Hang on a sec, I'm going to go check the security video." The nurse needs to make sure that there isn't a little boy running loose in the ICU. While she's gone, the surgeon comes in to tell Deb how the surgery went, etc. When the nurse returns, she tells them that she checked out the security footage, and she can see Deb open her eyes, start talking, reach her arm out, and then yank it back in panic. But she does not see anyone there with her. Deb's surgeon says, "Oh yeah, for sure this hospital is haunted." And he goes on to say that there are several reports of people seeing nurses dressed in old-fashioned uniforms, and that he himself has even heard screams coming from empty and no longer used operating rooms on several occasions. Needless to say, Deb could not wait to leave that hospital. That bite mark was there for 10 days. She even had a picture of it, but over the years, she lost it. But she's okay with that. She has Katie, the doctor, and the nurse as witnesses. And the picture really creeped her out anyway. She's just thankful that he only bit her and didn't follow her home. She will never forget that mean little face. This creepy event comes to us from Courtney. Back in 2009, Courtney is living with her boyfriend Josh in Louisiana because Josh, who I am proud to announce is now her husband, is stationed there with the Army. Every morning, he gets up to do his mandatory morning exercises, also known as PT or physical training. That's the fact, Jack! And always wears a gray Army t-shirt, shorts, and a reflection belt. He comes home afterward to shower and dress in his fatigues for the day. And this is his daily routine. One morning, Josh gets up and puts on his PT stuff and leaves. Doesn't say anything to Courtney, which she doesn't necessarily find strange. Sometimes he's either pretty tired, or if he thinks that Courtney is asleep, he doesn't want to wake her up. 5 minutes later, tops, Courtney hears the front door open and Josh walks into the bedroom in his PT clothes. Courtney asks him, "Why are you back so soon?" But he doesn't answer. He just walks into the bathroom, turns the light on, and shuts the door. Now, this is not like Josh at all. Courtney calls his name a few times to try to get him to talk to her and tell her what the deal is. And she even gets up to go open the door until she hears the front door open. She hears boots walking through the house and then down the hallway. And Courtney calls out, "Josh?" and then jumps back into bed. Josh comes running into the bedroom in his fatigues. Courtney tries to tell him what happened. However, she's pretty sure he doesn't believe her. No one was in the bathroom, but the light was still on, even though they always turn it off. Josh says the front door was unlocked, which never happens. And that day, he didn't have PT, so he never even changed into his PT clothes. So who or what in the world did Courtney see and hear? Well, there you go. Another quick taste of some of the crazy things happening to our very own InBetweeners. And speaking of crazy, we have a new addition to our Hoopy Food members, Story Spirals. Thank you so much for joining the clan. And thanks to all of our members. Your support truly does make a difference. And if you'd like to have your own personal shout out and support our crazy little channel, hit that join button below. If you have a story that you'd like to share with the world, please shoot me an email at inbetweentales@gmail.com. Be careful out there, and I will see you here again on the In Between.